COVID testing is super important right now. So many of us require negative tests to be able to go back to work. But can you test positive on a PCR test for up to 12 weeks, even after you recover? Here's Brandon Lewis to verify.
When the coronavirus pandemic started nearly 2 years ago, the CDC advised those infected with COVID-19 to quarantine for 10 days, followed by a negative test. That isolation period is now down to 5 days, and the CDC's newly updated guidance does not require a negative test, although they provide information for people who have access to or want to test. When the CDC said a negative COVID-19 test isn't needed after isolation, people on social media were shocked to learn the reason. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said testing at the end of quarantine is no longer needed because a PCR can stay positive for up to 12 weeks. So let's verify. Can a person test positive for COVID-19 on PCR tests for up to 12 weeks after infection? We went to these sources for an answer. The polymerase chain reaction, or PCR test, is a nasal swab that is sent to a lab for processing. Because it's more sensitive than antigen tests, it's more likely to accurately identify COVID-19 cases. Cleveland Clinic considers the PCR test the gold standard for diagnosing COVID-19. While the high sensitivity is reliable for first diagnosing people with COVID-19, it's far less reliable for determining if someone is still infectious with the virus. The University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center found that PCR tests can detect the virus up to 3 months after a person was first diagnosed with COVID-19. The global medical journal The Lancet published a study where 203 people who recovered from COVID-19 took a PCR test. Of the 203 people who were retested, 5 tested positive 85 to 105 days after they recovered from COVID-19. So we can verify, yes, a person can test positive for COVID-19 on PCR tests up to 12 weeks after infection. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
If there's something you'd like us to verify, you can always email verify@12newsnow.com, or you can direct message us on one of our social media accounts.